When you're in here, it's all about the experience. When you get to paint a car or you get to do something like that, you get to see the true colors of it.
You get to see something change in front of you and know that it was you who worked on it, and you get to see progress, and it's almost like an achievement.
It's something that you did, that's your work. People, oh look, wow, that looks really good, and you know that you did it, so it's kind of like, gives you a little bit of a confidence boost.
My program's been here for 2 years at the Launch Center. This is basically a campus of Notre Dame in Welland. All our courses here are either 2 or 4 credit programs, so students are either coming here for a morning, an afternoon, or all day. Students come in, we start the day with our anthem, and then usually we'll start with a theory lesson. So what can happen to throw that timing out? Well, a couple things. For instance, today we did a lesson on valve timing, and then we adjourn out to the shop, and then we're working on what we talked about in the classroom, as well as what we're working on here in the shop. Go get a couple nuts and a couple washers for it, and then run them through to taste it, okay?
Ever since I've been born, cars have really been a really big thing to me. So ever since I've heard about this program, I've heard what they do in here and what you could get out of it. So I just thought it'd be a perfect way for me to be a mechanic.
The Trans Am's pretty cool because it's an older car, so it shows you a lot of the older things that they used to put in cars rather than the new stuff now.
I like it. It's one of my favorite cars. We're doing a lot of body work. It's a lot of bondoing and sanding. I've been banging out a lot of dents too.
It's not your typical newer car. It's old and it has a lot of history and character to it.
You're never gonna smooth it right out. We'll have to do that with Bondo. This is all okay. This car arrived last year. What I'm finding is, students are excited to work on this car. They're seeing the unknown rust and the rust that hides underneath panels, and the engine, when you take the engine apart and you want to change one thing, well, that leads to this and this and that. And that's something that they're not used to. They don't have that exposure, and they're getting that exposure through this project. And this is why it's been such a great project for these students.
Trans Am is one of my favorite muscle old cars, and to see it in here, it's amazing with the original engine and everything, all the body work that's being done to it. I can't wait to see it be done.
You want to try and sand the long way the whole time. You don't do circles. That's the one great thing too about the Yves Landry Foundation. When they showed up with the car and I sat down and I spoke with the people from Yves Landry, they pretty much said, you and your students have the freedom to build this car the way you see fit. So what I'm seeing is kids that maybe have never really been into classic vehicles. They'll come in with pictures on their phone and say, what kind of car is this? So when you see students get that spark from being able to work on that car, they really like it.
It's definitely fun. I like working on older cars. New cars are a lot more boxy. They're kind of cookie cutter. With this, if you're banging out dents, you have to spend a lot of the time just feeling the waves of the car.
We'll end up spot putting that if need be. You got to make sure you're right into this corner, right? We're doing the whole car. So every avenue that you can think about a car, we're doing it here in-house. The auto body aspect on this car, that's been the main part of it, because that takes the longest. I do have students working on that engine. The transmission, for instance, that's finished, that's done. We've done all the brakes on the car. We've done the underside and the chassis of this vehicle already. The suspension, that's all finished and done. The steering system's all done. From the whole drive line right into the shocks and the springs, the suspension, the steering, those are all components that we have refurbished here at the shop, at the Launch Center. And the last stage of this car will be the interior. Go put it on, make sure the dust is off at first, just wipe it off with your hand, and put it on your area, and then I'll come and check it for you.
I think it's good to know because not all cars are going to be the same. So you get to learn a lot of how they used to do stuff. Basically, you can learn pretty much everything working on the newer cars and the older cars. So you can have more experience in both of those sectors.
It's really cool because you get to see a lot of history in it. The engine that it came with is original. It's really rare.
Being a 400 Pontiac, this is not cheap to buy parts for. Very expensive, okay? And remember, we got a budget. Luckily for us, we can do most of this work, and we have some partners out there that are willing to help us. When you start the dialogue with some of our industry partners, once they find out that you're doing a car for a charity such as the Yves Landry Foundation, they want to get on board as well. One of our partners is the Last Chance Car Show here in Welland. So it's a great big car show that they have. We put this car down there as a work in progress. From that, we were able to build some more community partners for parts and donations and that type of thing. The 3M Corporation, they've given us a lot of supplies and materials for the car. Another sponsor, because we don't have a painting facility within this shop, they're going to come in not only to paint the car, but they're also going to come in and do the finishing touches on the car with the students.
I find that's really cool because like when we put it back together, it's going to be like, okay, this part goes here, and it's like a kind of like a mind game type of thing, like a puzzle.
It'll be kind of great to see it run and get it moving and let people see it and see what we've done as students, like to get it going.
These are iconic to that car. You almost can't get a harder one to do, right, than these snowflake wheels, but they're timeless. I'm a classic car guy myself. I have a collection of vintage vehicles. When I was in high school, this is the stuff that I was working on. So when this car showed up, complete role reversal, because now I'm telling my students, I had one of these and I drove one of these cars and it was phenomenal because of this. So, sharing those experiences that I had with the car, it's important to me because we want to give them exposure to as much of the new technology out there as possible. But there's still a lot of employment out there available to students to work on this stuff. And this stuff is timeless. It's there. There's a lot of people that are still continuing to restore these cars and they're not going away. So it's a good learning exposure for them and they've really shined. When I tell a student, you're going to be up on that Trans Am today, you can see them light up. And again, when I see students that worked on that car and they come back after they graduate, they come back to check in on how the car is doing, that shows you that they've made a connection with it. Grab a little 400, do inside your marker light bezel.
You're hands-on, you're like there. You're working, it's the same environment that you're going to be training for and working in when you graduate.
It's a very warming feeling when you get to work on a car and get to do something good for it and make it look better for people.
I think it feels pretty cool because like it's something that you did, that's your work.
There's people who paint and they spend hours and hours painting a canvas. And that's kind of it with cars, it's a form of art.
Very good. You'll see them come in and they're working on that car and they just enjoy it and they'll stay there and they'll make sure that it's good. At the end of the day, I hope that they get that really satisfied feeling of accomplishment when they can go to a car show and they can see a Trans Am and say, I built one of them in high school. That's what I'm hoping they get out of it.